All right, welcome back to the Game Dev Breakdown podcast. My name is Todd Mitchell. We are finally closing out our GDC week content. We are finishing up in spectacular fashion with Mr. Kevin Gammill of Microsoft's Cloud Gaming Services. He is incredibly knowledgeable, very nice, and he was a super good sport in the face of many difficulties we had while trying to record. And if you stick around after the outro, you'll get just a glimpse of the kind of thing that we were up against trying to get this interview done. But he was awesome. I know you'll enjoy what he's got to say. So here is my chat with Kevin. All right, Kevin Gammill of Microsoft Cloud Gaming Services. How are you, sir?
Good, Todd. Thank you very much.
Thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast. This is going to be the last show of the week for GDC, and I think people are excited to hear from you. So tell me how GDC week has gone for you so far.
Other than the weather, which could have been certainly much better, probably the best GDC we had ever. Everything from just the great interest we've seen from independent game developers all the way up to AAA game developers, as well as some of our other initiatives around the gaming for everyone. I think it was just a great week. Very cool. Yeah, I agree. We were having basically the exact same weather back in St. Louis, so when people said, "Oh, you're going to San Francisco," I said, "Well, don't get too excited." Yeah, I ended up running across the street to Target to buy an umbrella, and it's the first umbrella I actually purchased in probably the last 20 years. So those of us in Seattle, it tended to be gray and drizzly, and it just poured in San Francisco.
Yeah, so that's been kind of funny. You were, before moving over to Cloud Gaming Services, you were previously working on the core Xbox platform right when the Xbox One X was coming up to launch. Is that correct?
That's right. Prior to my current job, or my current role, I had been driving the software engineering efforts of Scorpio, or otherwise known as Xbox One X, basically from conception all the way to launch last November.
So I feel like I should congratulate you on all of the great enhanced titles that were available just right at launch for people, and it's only increased from there.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. One of the things we took super seriously with Xbox One X was a great developer experience, and I think we've been successful in that, and basically in the number of launch titles we actually had. It was actually our biggest launch title console release ever in the history of Xbox, and I think really leaning into the developer experience helped us there, and I hope to carry that forward as I think about the cloud work we're doing next.
Absolutely. So Microsoft is basically putting an emphasis right now, and this is part of your, it seems like your presence at GDC, but to sort of translate all the success you guys have had with cloud development, cloud services in general, to make those more widely available to the game developer side. Tell me about the strategy there.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Todd. As we, shipped Xbox One X, Phil Spencer was recently promoted to be a direct executive vice president under Satya. It kind of forced us to think about our business slightly differently than we thought about it in the past. If you think, depending on how you count, there's roughly 7.2 billion people in the world today. There's estimates that by 2020, we think about 2 billion of those people will actually be either playing or watching games.
Sure.
And if we think about some of Microsoft's ambitions, it's basically how could we touch every single one of those 2 billion gamers going forward around 2020? And there's a number of ways we can do that. Certainly from what I'll call the traditional to-date Microsoft gaming-focused areas around our devices, that will be a piece of it. We are certainly not giving up on our hardware or Windows efforts at all, and that will continue. But we're not going to sell 2 billion Xboxes. I would love to, but we're not going to.
Sure.
So how do we kind of reach that? So couple different angles. One's our first-party content. It's a great asset we have at Microsoft around our first-party efforts. Minecraft has a footprint over 100 million active users already, which is fantastic. But you'll see more of first-party casting a wider net and being available on more platforms. So that's one way. Another way is through our Mixer streaming service. That's a very device-independent approach. We think that will be a way to touch some of those potential 2 billion gamers. As we think about our cloud gaming services, that's another way to potentially reach our 2 billion active gamers in 2020. And so we're taking a very thoughtful and intentional approach of delivering these cloud services from a very device-agnostic or independent way. So it doesn't matter if you're a developer for iOS, Android, Steam, Windows Store, PS4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox console, etc. We want to make our services available to all of you to make you as successful as we possibly can be. often a lot of people forget. We have kind of gaming in our core DNA, going all the way back to 1981 when actually the first Microsoft game ever shipped. That was a game called Microsoft Adventure. And if you kind of fast forward that real quickly through kind of the future, we have Microsoft Solitaire, probably one of the most popular games that's ever shipped.
Oh, yeah.
And then Microsoft Flight Simulator to kind of the AAA stuff we have now today with, Halo, Turn 10, and what they've done, what the Coalition has done with Gears of War. Of course, there's Minecraft. And this week, Sea of Thieves, brand new title that just shipped.
Yes.
So we certainly have gaming kind of at our core. But in addition to that, we have a pretty strong, what I'll call platform legacy of leadership as well. Again, kind of going back all the way to 1985 when Windows 1.0 first shipped. You think about DirectX, probably the most popular gaming API available today. That shipped in 1994 as part of the Windows Gaming SDK as part of Windows 95. Xbox as a hardware platform has been around since 2001, Xbox Live since 2002, and now we're building on top of Azure, which has been around since 2010. So, we have platforms that are built to last. They're well supported by Microsoft. They're generally loved and still going strong and growing, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. And what stood out to me talking to different members of the team in your group this week was it's easy to look, I'm a developer myself, it's easy to look at all of this stuff and think, like, boy, cloud services are overwhelming, and it seems like out of my reach to put this in my projects. But it seems like every group we talk to who deals with different products, there is a way for you to get started with all of these different pieces. Easy, in most cases free. You can implement things step by step, and it seems like it's easier than ever now to get started in moving beyond one-and-done game releases to ongoing value in your projects, right?
Exactly. And if I take a really big step back and I think about kind of Microsoft's role in this, I'll start with our mission statement. And Satya set the tone long ago when he took over as CEO. But, really our mission statement is to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. And that doesn't exclude game developers at all. And so that's kind of the way I think about our starting point. If you think about what we have available today, gaming cloud services, PlayFab is available to pick up today. It was a recent acquisition we did. You can go to playfab.com, download the SDK, and you can get off and started essentially for free. We bill per MAU, and the first 1,000 MAU is actually free. And for those of you who were at GDC, hopefully you signed up for the offer we had available there, aka.ms/GDC offer, which will give you a little bit more for free. But unfortunately, we're not there. You can get it up and running pretty quickly, and it can actually complement an existing title you have. Or if you're starting from scratch and you want to take a more kind of adopt the entire platform approach, that's also a valid approach you can take.
James Schwartzman of PlayFab was my first guest this week. It was incredible hearing his story about PlayFab's inception, joining the Microsoft family. He's obviously very passionate about this stuff, very passionate about enabling smaller dev teams, and that's something I've been trying to hammer home in each of my shows because my audience does skew towards the smaller groups, indie groups, things like that, and this does not seem out of reach at all anymore.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the things that really attracted us to PlayFab. We felt like with our existing assets we had at Microsoft we could bring to bear, plus PlayFab and their focus on the indie mobile market. It was really a 1 + 1 = 3 approach, and I love the energy and the thought leadership they bring to the space here in Redmond after the acquisition. And I think it's just going to be a real kind of igniter to our velocity all up when it comes to cloud gaming services.
And something that seems so incredible about making this transition as a developer is when you're utilizing great cloud tools, it seems like for the first time you can get to know your player base at a much more personal level. And that seems like such a big theme at GDC this year has been trying to introduce stability into the game industry because there are a lot of challenges, and it's a fairly new industry. It doesn't have quite all of the same reliability that maybe software development outside games may grant you. So it seems like, to me, if you really are able to introduce things like the stability of time-honored practices from Azure, cloud services, things like this, it seems like maybe you're lowering risk for yourself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think really being able to create a tight loop between, say, when you release an update or release your product for the first time, getting feedback from your user base and being able to iterate quickly on that feedback will really provide a lot of value to your titles. I mean, traditionally, I'm on the older side of the things. Prior, to the internet, really games were developed in a very linear fashion where they would develop the game, they would deploy the game, and by deploying, that meant shipping it as CD-ROM disks to places like CompUSA. Mm-hmm. And then later on with the internet, you'd be able to update the game, but that was kind of when the customer engagement ended. Similarly, from a marketing perspective, it was really, a target you'd acquire, and you'd acquire those again through CompUSA and other traditional retail channels, and that would be your monetization, but that's when the relationship would end. And now, kind of spanning the entire genre of games from free to play all the way to the AAA space, that's ended. And having a tight loop across both the engineering aspects as well as the marketing aspects is really providing a lot of value, not only to the developer and the publisher, but also the end user. And so you think about games like GTA 5 or Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege has been out for 24 plus months, and they are probably more successful now than they've ever been in those prior 24 months. And that's kind of unheard of in the AAA space if you think back 5 or 6 years ago.
Absolutely. And you mentioned marketing, and one thing that I hadn't heard too much about until today was the shift for Microsoft also to help try to provide smaller teams with that sort of marketing help, helping you to acquire the players you want, and so that you can try new and interesting things with your projects. Tell me a little bit about the marketing side that you guys want to focus on.
No, that's a great question. One of the benefits we have at Microsoft is our first-party studios, and we can often use those to learn new things about our gaming customers, and then take those learnings and apply those to a broader base and give those learnings essentially to our developers who are also trying to create games. I'll give you two good examples. One kind of in the AAA space is one of our first-party studios has developed some pretty interesting heuristics when it comes to anti-cheat. Specifically, we know that physically a user can only move the cursor from the right end of the screen to the left end of the screen in a certain amount of time. And through those heuristics, we're able to detect that if the time is faster than that, they're most likely using an aimbot, and they're probably most likely cheating. That's an example of a service we want to provide to all of our game developers to basically provide a better game and a freer platform for all the player base. From a kind of more marketing perspective, some of our free-to-play games in the casual space, we've developed some heuristics using machine learning and artificial intelligence that gives us some visibility into when we think someone's going to churn out. So again, we can give some visibility to our partners in the development space who are developing their own titles with their existing customer base around some alerts and some hints on things they can do that, hey, it looks like this person may churn out, you may want to do something about it. So again, what they do about it's really up to the game developer, but there are lots of things and lots of ideas from, hey, we've, a push notification, for example, saying, hey, we noticed you haven't been logged in the last week. Here's 1,000 coins to kind of get you re-engaged, or here's a skin to help you get re-engaged. Those kind of things we're really pushing hard on and giving services available to all developers, big and small, the ability to get closer to their customer base.
Yeah, and especially with the PlayFab platform as well. It would seem so incredible the things they can set up very simply in terms of just automated tasks. If a user is in this situation, take this action, allow, hopefully bring them back in, get them interested. Just simply things you don't want to have to worry about on the developer side. I think that was super great. One interesting thing you mentioned is the internal properties, and throughout the week I've heard from different experts who have talked to me about using those internal studios and those internal development teams working on first-party content to sort of, on one side, work with them to see what pain points they have as you guys develop your tools, but then also to sort of get everyone on the same page and see where that sort of takes you. I mean, like, Have you identified a lot of pain points that way, or has that been very smooth?
So we acquired PlayFab about 2 months ago. Is about mid-January when we acquired them. And we're kind of in the process of doing a roadshow with First Party right now on getting them integrated into PlayFab. A lot of these existing studios had their kind of telemetry and data analytics pipelines already plugged in. And one thing great about PlayFab is whether you're an existing title or a new title, you can complement your existing infrastructure if you're an existing title and really use it a la carte, which is great. So that's kind of how we're getting over with first-party studios. So they're beginning to integrate now, and we're learning a lot, and we're going to pass those learnings on to our third-party development partners as well. But for a net new title, we hope you adopt the entire platform, from commerce to tournaments to matchmaking to real-time analytics to enterprise automation, everything we do. But one of the things I just love about PlayFab is it's so easy to pick up and plug in to your existing title. It's not an all or nothing kind of concept.
And it seemed incredible to me as I looked over the PlayFab documentation that I noticed like JavaScript libraries that I had used to make browser games, and they said, yeah, you can use PlayFab for that as well. And James Schwartzman confirmed that. He goes, yeah, absolutely. Web is a big focus for us moving forward, and we want to be on board for those people who are making clients for these games. So it doesn't get more approachable than that. If you're making games in the browser, you can start to incorporate some of these things into your development.
You got it. It kind of goes back to that kind of completely agnostic approach where we want to support all platforms, all devices, all major networks, all major game engines, and all major app stores. I mean, we're really being thoughtful about being as broadly appropriate as we can be.
Sure. And one thing in game development is as the development teams tend to skew smaller, sometimes the, development practices don't necessarily match up to what you see in like an enterprise environment or even at a AAA studio environment. Do you find people sort of apprehensive about implementing like what you might consider more robust tools for planning and documentation, things like that? Is that sort of scary for people, or are they excited to get things that like, the Visual Studio family can help me make task boards and stuff like this? Is that exciting for people, or a little bit making them nervous?
It's more exciting. I mean, if I take a step back and I think about our vision and kind of the gaming cloud aspect of it, we want to enable game companies to basically focus on the fun, and our job is really to focus on making sure it runs. So we want to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the appropriate level of telemetry and insights you have into your customer base so that you can focus on the fun. You as the developer can really focus on the actual gameplay and making sure it's fun. So it's really been looked at in a very positive net from the partners we've talked to so far on this.
Okay, cool. So when it comes to cloud gaming services, what is on the roadmap for the near future? I mean, where is your focus moving forward?
We're really built for a future in cloud gaming. Again, I mentioned that Xbox Live has been around for a long time, and one of our tenets when it comes to Xbox Live that we're carrying forward is definitely a secure and compliant space when it comes to cloud gaming. We've been leaders in data security for a long time, as well as global compliance. We have this GDPR hitting the European Union in May. That's something we take super seriously, and we are ready to handle that. But there's also some probably lesser-known things around CVAA, which is an Accessibility Act in the United States that basically says all communication platforms in the United States need to be compliant with the laws here. That goes into effect, I think, January of next year. And often in a multiplayer game, communication takes a big aspect of it. We're going to be ready for that as well and have a number of services available for developers to take advantage of if they want. If you think about our platform agnostic view, from a devices perspective, we've talked about how we support that. But even as we build on top of Azure, we're both looking at Linux and Windows as options to support in the cloud. So that's something we want to do. And lastly, we have quite a global reach. What was recently 42 data centers of Azure up and running, that has been recently extended, and we're now at 50 data centers worldwide. So we have quite a global reach, and that number is just going to continue to grow. And what that enables game developers to do is essentially scale on demand with competitive pricing.
Sure. And something that stood out to me as being so cool is developers looking into developing on cloud services. And as a platform, if you look at PlayFab, stuff like this, what you're really doing is leveraging all of Microsoft's hard work on things like security standards and just all sorts of things where the hard parts are taken care of for you, and the a lot of the forethought is taken care of for you, because those things are very intimidating on the way in. If you've never developed for multiplayer, or you've never even done your own leaderboards before, it's like you have a lot of unanswered questions. And this is stuff that you guys have already dealt with time and time again. You understand how things need to be done, the best methods for doing them. Starting up with these platform tools just seems incredible.
Yep, you kind of nailed it, Todd. I think James probably talked about kind of being a kid in a candy store when he kind of came on board here at Microsoft, and kind of looking across all of Microsoft at all the existing gaming assets we have available, and us being able to bring that to bear as part of the PlayFab offering. Obvious things such as, the recent acquisition of Simply Gone and Xbox Live are easy examples, but even what Azure has in App Center, for example. So App Center has a number of iOS and Android devices in the cloud. So if you're a mobile game developer and you want to be able to test your mobile game, you'll be able to leverage App Center in the cloud to test your games, instead of going out and buying every possible version of iOS and Android device that you want your game to run on and testing it on that. So even what someone would not necessarily consider a gaming specific service, we will be able to make available to gaming, because it certainly does apply there.
Sure, absolutely. One thing I'm asking everybody is give us a resource people can check out to learn, follow along, see what direction you guys are going, and cool announcements, stuff like that. Where can people go to learn more?
This is probably the same one James gave you. I would go to http://playfab.com, and you will have all the documentation and everything you need there to sign up for free and begin to see what we have to offer. Okay,
that's awesome. Well, Kevin Gammill of Microsoft Cloud Gaming Services, thank you so much for talking to us about all of this, and best of luck in the future with this. I think this is going to be huge for game developers and for you guys also.
No problem, Todd. Hope you have a good rest of the show.
All right, thanks once again to Kevin, who was a fantastic guest, really nice guy to speak with. Thank you to everyone at Microsoft who was so cool during this entire week. What an unforgettable experience. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you to my new friends over at Unity, who graciously welcomed me right at the end of the week when everyone was just exhausted, and that's much appreciated. Thanks to Bharat Bhatt, who worked so hard to line up guests for the show. Thanks to Richard Campbell of the .NET Rocks podcast, who worked real hard on all of this behind the scenes, which is much appreciated. Shout out to my friend Dimitri Lylan, who was a great point of contact on the floor at the show, and to everyone else who appeared in the podcasts. It is unbelievable. I hope it was great for you guys as well. So thank you once again. And as always, if you guys enjoyed the Game Dev Breakdown podcast, let us know by subscribing, supporting the show on social media. Reach out to us, let us know you're having a good time, and let us know what you want to hear, and we will bring it to you. So for everyone on the Code Right Play team, and for our buddies at Microsoft, Unity, and everyone else who was so great at GDC, thank you guys so much. We will talk to you soon with our regularly scheduled content. Thanks, everybody.
What is our cloud development services we want to make available?
Oh boy, hotel room phone call.
Oh boy. Okay. Edit. That sounds like an old school phone too.
It is, yeah. This is Bharat's room. I do not know exactly what's going on. Okay. Boy, hanging up didn't stop it either. That's silly. 1 second, I'm sorry. Hello? Yeah, everything is totally great. Thank you. Will do, thanks. Bye.
A very persistent courtesy call.
That is so funny. Sorry about that.